I was 16 years old when this all happened. To this day, it remains the scariest moment of my life. I used to live in a little town called Euclid. I know it's a really weird name, but it was a pretty nice place to grow up. Lots of fields and open areas and places for kids to run around and explore. We didn't have the helicopter parents that people have today, so we had free roam of the place, and we had a good time living our lives as kids do. We would hang out in this overgrown field. I don't know who owned the place, never really cared to know, but we liked to gather up and play baseball there. Despite the grass being so high, it was difficult to find the ball at times. Ticks were rampant too. Always had to pick them off when we were done. At the end of the field, there was a rickety old fence that was falling apart. It needed some maintenance, and there were gaps in a lot of places that we could climb through. It separated the field from this creepy old abandoned warehouse. I don't think any of us knew why it was abandoned, but it sat there unoccupied and rusting away, and no one seemed to care. There was a lone cow in the field who just meandered around the area. The boys and I took to naming her Bessie because it sounded like a name a cow would have. She never really bothered us. She would wander around the field and graze on the grass while we would play baseball. I remember on that particular day, Bessie was off in the distance while the boys and I were playing a good game of baseball. I was the pitcher and Mikey was up to bat. I had already struck him out twice and the bases were loaded. One more strike and the boys would be out and we'd have our turn to score some points. We were down 2 points and eager for a comeback. I threw my signature double gamma curveball, which I like to call it, but really it was just me throwing the ball with all my power, like any kid would do, and then pretending it was some professional who had control of it. Luck wasn't on my side that day, and Mikey connected the bat to the ball with the force of a rhino, sending it flying past that rickety old fence. The game was lost at that point, and I cursed myself silently for letting down my teammates. The next thing I remember was that we only had one ball, and the other guys refused to go past that fence. They kept making excuses like, it's haunted, or it's forbidden, or weird stuff happens there. Like that would stop me from retrieving the ball. Finally, Mikey and Carlos said they'd go look for the ball with me, but the rest of the guys were too chicken shit. The three of us passed through one of the holes in the fence without an ounce of fear, as the rest of the boys looked on with horror. It was like they thought we had crossed into hell, but there was nothing that bad on the other side. It was just grass and that warehouse, nothing spectacular. It was then I noticed that there was a big black cat about 10 feet away from us. I couldn't see its face, but I could see that the cat had the baseball in its mouth and was running towards the warehouse with it. "Mikey, Carlos, that damn cat has our ball!" I shouted out. The three of us chased after the cat as it ran into a partially cracked open door of the warehouse. Mikey and Carlos both stopped at the door. Maybe we should just let the ball go. We can get another one," Carlos said with a look of concern on his face. "Don't be a chicken," Mikey said. I was with Mikey on that one. Nothing to fear about an old warehouse, I thought. In hindsight, I should have listened to Carlos. Peer pressured into it, Carlos followed the two of us into the warehouse. It was dark for the most part, and at that time we didn't have a flashlight or cell phones that could light up the area. We did our best with faint streams of light shining in from the few windows in the place. The place had a weird stench, like animals had been living in there. It was a large building filled with old, rusted machinery that once had a purpose, but now sat there abandoned and forgotten. We roamed the building for a while looking for that black cat that had stolen the baseball, but he had hidden himself pretty well because none of us spotted him. It was only a moment later Carlos noted something and pointed it out to us. "Guys, check this out. Look, it's another cat. he whispered while pointing his finger at an orange cat that had its back towards us. Shit! Is that Garfield? Wait a second. Why is it glowing? Mikey said. The three of us stared at the cat and then looked at each other in disbelief. There was an unnatural glow that was coming off the cat that lit up the area. I have no idea how we missed it before. When the cat turned around, we could see something truly terrifying. The cat had no eyes. Replacing its eyes were two long white candles that were lit. Each of us gasped, and Carlos nearly screamed as the cat began to tiptoe over towards us very slowly and methodically. Somehow, through the candle eyes, it was able to see us.
Come now, children. Don't give up candles for eyes. Our room will never go dark.
The cat hissed at us. I nearly shit my pants when it talked, and my immediate response was to turn and run. But the room was suddenly aglow with candles, and it was then we noticed that there was more than one of those cats. They came out of the machinery in corners with glowing candle eyes, and this was when I really started to regret coming into the building.
Yes, candle eyes are great. You'd be surprised how much you can see with them.
Another cat said from behind us.
Mikey boy, you've been very naughty, haven't you? I can see you've been up to no good lately. Why don't you tell your friends about what you did to poor Sheila?
Yet another cat with white fur and black spots chimed in. The two of us looked at Mikey, unsure of what the cat was talking about. Mikey's face was a mixture of anger and fear. The cats were all around us now. The area was a bright mess of lit candles and the sounds of meows. I didn't do anything, Mikey stammered.
Oh, but you did, Mikey. I can see your fingerprints all over her neck. Did you think you could do that to her? And toss her into the sewer like that?
Another cat said. Shut the fuck up! I didn't do anything. I don't even know a Sheila, Mikey screamed. We were scared out of our minds, but now we were looking at Mikey with a strange glare, unsure if he had been hiding something from us. They started in on Carlos, too.
Carlos. I can see you too, Carlos. You poisoned food, Carlos. Didn't you know that it could kill someone?
A candle cat said. What? Carlos muttered.
The label says that it's deadly, Carlos. I know you read the label. Why did you put it in their food?
Enough! Screamed Mikey at the top of his lungs. He charged for the nearest candle cat and picked it up in his hands and began to strangle the cat while using his other hand to punch the cat in the face. We watched in horror as he beat the cat to death, and then started after another, his rage unquenchable. The cats backed up, keeping just out of Mikey's reach, but were still undeterred.
You.
The cat hissed at me.
Did it taste good? Did you enjoy the taste? Slow cooked and funny spices. I can tell you enjoyed it going down your throat.
What the fuck are you talking about? I asked. I really had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I grabbed Mikey's shoulder and pulled him away from trying to grab another cat, started to guide him towards the exit. Carlos was eager to leave as well, and we all dashed past the glowing cats and out of the building. What was all that? I asked the boys, trying to catch my breath. They both shook their heads. I think all of us were in shock, but the cats did not try to follow us. I don't know what they were trying to talk about at all, I said. But let's promise to never speak of this again. Nothing about those weird cats. Nothing about what they said. This never happened. Carlos and Mikey agreed, and for 18 years, not one of us said anything about the subject. We drifted apart, in fact, and didn't speak for a long time. I never did forget this event, but the memory of it came to the forefront when I turned on the news one night to find that the police had discovered a decomposed body in the sewer. They identified the body as Sheila Smith. I felt immediately terrified. Had those cats somehow seen what would happen and predicted it? Or was this mere coincidence? I couldn't believe the type of evil person it takes to do something like that to another person. About a month later, there was another news report. A wealthy family had all been poisoned when someone had tampered with their food. The bodies were found weeks later, rotting and decomposing, since they had no other family to check on them. At this, I grew ever more terrified. I spent a few days reliving the events from 18 years ago, playing them again and again in my mind. Everything matched up with what the cats had said. The candle cats even began to haunt my dreams. We were back in that old warehouse. Mikey and Carlos would be tied to wooden posts, and slowly the candle cats would use the flame of their candles to light the wood. The fire started slow, nipping at their feet, but it wasn't long until it erupted into an all-consuming blaze. They'd both scream in agony for a few seconds before their vocal cords had burned away, and they transformed into charred, dead husks. I would wake up in tears, clinging to my blanket like a baby. I tried to find out more information about the two crimes, but there was nothing publicly available other than who had died. I shook my head in disbelief at the situation. I couldn't believe someone would do something so evil as to poison an entire family. But I already knew there was evil in the world because I had experienced it personally. After a year of marriage, I realized my wife was cheating on me with not one, but 3 other guys. We had an 8-month-old son together, and of course the idiot judge gave her custody. I had one last day with my son, and then that was to be the end of it. I'd probably never see him again when she took him away. I picked my son up from his crib, looked at him with tearful eyes. I pulled him to me in an embrace as I felt my stomach begin to rumble and hunger overtake me. My eyes went wide with terror as I recalled what the candle cats had said to me, and my mind seemingly fractured into 2, with the good, the rational side being overtaken by something else. If I couldn't see my son anymore, then neither could she. Besides, I had already agreed to treat myself to some good comfort food to cheer myself up, and who could go wrong with something so exotic and rare? I can smell the meat slow cooking. The aroma of it makes my mouth water. It won't be long now until it is time to eat. Tears begin to stream down my cheeks as I realize what I have done. Could I have stopped myself? Could this all have been prevented? I wonder if it was the same for them. I wonder if I'll join them on those posts burning away